Also watch us on the new OTB Sports app for iOS and Android. Search OTB Sports in the App Store. Shane, we'll just start with you. Dundalk, where your opposition analyst played Pats last night in the League of Ireland, the resumption, 1-1 draw. I suppose, though, the more pressing matter was the fact that it was a very sad week for the club with Harry Taff, the groundsman, and the videographer. He passed away.
Yeah, incredibly sad week. That's for sure, JD. I mean, Harry... Look, I suppose anybody who wants to know Harry, it's very simple to do so. Just pick up today's Indo. Dan McDonald has an absolutely fantastic 2-page spread on all Harry was to everybody at Dundalk. Look, I'm only in with the club this year. I've only got to know him over the last couple of months. But the likes of Vinny Pert, our manager, and some of the lads who'd be there a long time, Dane Massey, Brian Gartland, he would have been an absolutely massive part of their lives, really. Real larger-than-life character, a madman to a certain extent, great crack altogether, and yeah, he's going to be, sorely missed around the club. And look, it's absolutely no excuse, and I won't even make it an attempt as an excuse as to why we underperformed last night. But you would say that it might. Look, it certainly didn't have a positive effect, I'd imagine.
What was it like last night? Was it a very strange environment?
It was a very strange environment. First game back, a big one. You need to hit the ground running. You have all that went on over the course of the week with Harry's passing, and I mean, ideally, what you need to walk out to last night is you need to walk out to a home crowd who's roaring you on, who maybe bite on by the memory of Harry and that, and the place would be lifted, and maybe when we get 1-0 up, maybe you go on and you kick on, or maybe at 1-1 when you're trying to find another goal towards the end. Again, the crowd give you that extra boost, and to not have it, there's no doubt it did have a negative effect, all right. But look, it's going to be the same when, on the flip side, when we're away from home, it might work in our favour. But yeah, it worked against us last night, and I know the players found it very, very strange.
Shelburne 0, Waterford 1 at the moment in the League of Ireland Premier Division. The COVID protocols, what is the situation with that, Shane?
Yeah, I suppose you're implementing social distancing within the dressing room in terms of where the players can sit. That might only sound like a small thing, John, but as well, many sports people are extremely kind of superstitious about where they sit, so that can cause anarchy in the dressing room in terms of who's sitting where and all that kind of stuff. Same up in the stand in terms of where we're all sitting. None of the substitutes or staff or anything like that are allowed anywhere near each other. There's a couple of rows between everybody, a couple of seats between everybody, and yeah, look, it's an awful lot to kind of factor in, an awful lot of distractions around it. And again, look, that all sounds well and good after us not being at our best as excuses. But yeah, it's very, very strange, and it's going to take a bit of getting used to for everybody.
Regarding fitness, do you feel, or did you speak to the players, or is there a sense that there's going to be a bit of rust there at the moment?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose we had a very, very practical example of it last night. Patrick McElhenney, an absolutely fantastic player and one of the best players in the league. He probably wasn't quite where he needed to be in terms of starting the game last night. So the lads didn't start him, and they probably, would have hoped to maybe have left him off until maybe 15, 20 minutes from the end. But because we were chasing the game a bit, they threw him on a bit earlier, and he lasted less than 5 minutes, Jeddy, which was... You're going to get that. I saw people on Twitter today talking about the amount of injuries over in inter-county GAA games over the last while. Everybody's going to suffer from that from the next while, and it certainly bit us in the arse in terms of Patrick last night.
That's one way of putting it. Kenny Cunningham, good afternoon.
How's it going, lads?
Good to have you, Kenny, as always. The big news, I suppose, today, guys. Troy Parrish has gone to Millwall on loan from Tottenham for a year. Only made 4 appearances in the first team for Spurs last season. Very... kind of apt, I suppose, that we're speaking to you, Kenny, because when you went over to Dublin, from Dublin to the England in the late 80s, Millwall was the club you went to.
Couldn't have found a better club for him. In terms of helping his development. Yeah, different type of club maybe to when I first went over. They'll be delighted getting Troy on loan for the season, I'm sure of that. Obviously, he's got some great attributes, Troy, and I think it's probably the best move for him. Didn't look as if reading between the lines, John, there would have been too many opportunities for him going forward. Very surprised at a few of Jose Mourinho's comments about him when he first came through the door, pretty much suggesting that'd be very little opportunity for him, that he wasn't ready on a load of different levels. if I was in Troy's shoes, I wouldn't want to be hearing those comments from the new manager. So probably the best thing for him to get out and get some football under his belt. But then again, I think it's important you get yourself the right environment, the right football club to go and to learn and to develop. Sometimes you pick the wrong club, the wrong type of environment, it can actually knock you back. So hopefully it's the right choice for Troy. He can knuckle down, get his head down and get some games under his belt. Probably similar to Jason Malumbi last year, went there on loan from Brighton. He's had a great season, seen a bit of him play, spoken to a few Millwall supporters. They've been really impressed with him. And I think he's improved. He's kind of sharpened up his game. Shane will know that as well, playing competitive first team football as a young player developing. At some stage, you need to throw yourself into it. And Jason's done that with some success. So hopefully the same will be true for Troy next year.
What's Millwall like as a club these days, Kenny?
You trying to tease something at me here, Johnny?
No, it's all
good.
Tease
the headline.
No, it's all good. Like Gary Rowd's done a great job. They're nearly gone to the playoffs. I'm not going to be back into. I was there once. I saw more police than people. But it was about 16 years ago, so probably better now.
Troy would have enjoyed it more at the old end. I'm not sure if Shane experienced the atmosphere down the old end on a Tuesday evening. It was absolutely rocking. I loved it, to be honest with you. As most of the new stadiums, I've found a little bit soulless in all honesty. Obviously, All-Seater Stadium, and we all know the reasons why we went down that direction. It was only a stone's throw from the old ground, but he'll enjoy it there, Troy. It'll build his character, don't get me wrong. And if he's not maybe playing to the level that he should, I'm sure the Millwall supporters will kind of let him know. But that's all part of the learning experience as a young professional, just kind of battle harden yourself in a man's game. So I think he'll do well. I think Gary Rowett, you've made a good point there. He's got a good reputation as a good coach, kind of developing young players. And they've had a decent run, Millwall. Even Neil Harris prior to that, a couple of years before that, had some kind of success. So I think traditionally it's been a good kind of learning curve, a good kind of breeding ground for young players looking to develop their game and possibly move on, even those players on loan from different clubs. So hopefully the environment will suit Troy. He'll settle in quickly and get all important game time under his belt, which would be good for him and indirectly good for Ireland going forward.
Absolutely. At 53106, folks, what do you think of the Troy Parrott move to Millwall? I'm thinking, Shane, you and I are both Spurs fans. Harry Kane went to Leyton Orient, Norwich, Millwall itself and Leicester. So there is a template here.
Yeah, definitely. And look, it's great to see him get the move, any kind of move, because look, as Kenny's saying, he was in absolutely in no man's land there for the last while, John, and it must have been frustrating for him because I think it's going to be really, really interesting over the next 15 years or so, and it'd be interesting to see, I suppose, by the end of those 15 years where Kenny thinks the four lads will level out. But you've got four fellas there separated by about a year and a half in birth between Troy Parrott, Michael Obafemi, Adam Ida and Aaron Connolly. And, at various parts of the next 15 years, as I say, those players are going to be at various different levels in terms of overtaking each other in the pecking order at club level and at international level. You could end up with any one of those four could end up with 60, 70, 80 caps. Any one of those four could fall off the map. And in Troy's case, I think all of them have probably started to sneak ahead of him in terms of what they've done of recent. Obviously, Aaron Connolly is the main man of the four at the moment, and doing very well and may well start the Slovakia game, given that how he finished the season. But, I mean, even Obafemi has got a couple of goals. Adam Ida got that cup hat-trick. And, while Troy has been banging in goals at underage levels and I suppose people who are at those underage games had been raving about him, it's not the same. It's not the same. And look, now he's going to have that opportunity to go and show people what he can do. I suppose the phrase that instantly jumped to my mind when I'd heard he'd signed for Millwall was, well, that'll put hairs on his chest,
No one likes us, we don't care. Well, that was the chant, wasn't it, back in the day? And there was that amazing panorama documentary in the 70s about Millwall. And some of their supporters. 53106 here. Harry Kane went on loan at Millwall. He turned out all right. Troy Parrott and Mason Greenwood shows the difference in management between Ole and Jose. That is from Paul and Cork. Not sure what he means there, Kenny. But what Shane is talking about there, the Fab Four, yeah, I suppose when you're thinking about it, I'm thinking about Aidan O'Brien. I'm thinking of his sons, Dunica and Joseph, in horse racing. And somebody was saying this to me the other day. The next 40 years, Dunica and Joseph O'Brien are going to dominate horse racing in Ireland, all being well. And these lads have got a great future ahead of them.
Yeah, they certainly have. And again, Shane makes a good point. I mean, Stephen will have it's the kind of problem that you want, how to integrate all these players into the setup and into the starting 11. You know, experience tells you, you know, it's very rare in football, particularly in international football, you have all your players all fit and raring to go at the same time. But if all those players turn up fit and raring to go over the next couple of years, be very interested to see how Stephen sees it. I mean, players have different attributes in the modern game. I mean, Stephen, depending on how he sets up the team tactically, Shane might know a little bit more than me, but if he reverted to a 4-3-3 system, you could argue maybe incorporating 3 of those 4 forwards in a team across the front line. The modern forward now is very versatile. Back in the day, you were pigeonholed as an orthodox centre forward, a winger, or a traditional midfielder, box to box. The game has changed now, and we're seeing now in the modern game, players who play across the front line are very versatile. They can operate off both flanks. They're not wingers now, they're 3 forwards. So they can play centrally or kind of play in the channels, kind of in the pockets off the flank. So 1 or 2 of those players might be able to, perform in 1 or 2. Aaron Connolly looks to be that type of player who play off the left or the right, or maybe in a slightly withdrawn role as well. Troy probably more predominantly a number 9. Adam potentially as well could play off the flanks, and Michael Obafemi. So it's a great problem to have, lads, because it wasn't too long ago we were talking about where's the next Robbie Keane and what are our options up front, where the goals are going to come from. So it's a great conversation to have going forward, and looking at these players, seeing them develop, getting better, and obviously looking to Stephen to see how he sees it. He'll have worked with these players, Stephen. He'll know them better than most, and how he sees, what role he sees them playing going forward in an Ireland jersey.
FA Cup final day, guys. I'm just kind of thinking back to when I was a young lad. It was Wembley, it was the Twin Towers, the old stadium, BBC, John Motson, Des Lynam, Jimmy Hill. Like the build up from about 8 o'clock in the morning, meeting the teams, and then the final itself. No European football for a lot of English clubs in the late 80s. Of course, the tournament has changed. We've got the Champions League now. The Premier League has become this global behemoth. Of course, the competition's been dwarfed. United didn't play it in 2000. Louis van Gaal was sacked after winning it. Wenger won it 3 times recently. Didn't really seem to make much of a difference to the opinion of the second stage of his Arsenal career. But Kenny, I'm sure when you were a young lad growing up in Dublin, like myself and Shane and Laois, that it was a big deal.
Yeah, it would have been. So I'm not going to ask Shane his age, obviously live on TV, but obviously we're giving him a couple of years. So my nostalgia for me when I think of the FA Cup, lads, I think of growing up in Dublin. I left Dublin in '89, so I'd be thinking the '80s in Dublin. When I think of kind of FA Cup, classic FA Cup ties, and the really memorable ones, it's from that era. Probably the first one, I'm not too sure if I can remember that Arsenal-Sunderland Cup final. Shane certainly wouldn't. Is it 79, John? I know you're good in the dates.
Yeah, Alan Sunderland scored the winner, in 79.
Yeah, well, did Liam was that crossing off his left foot? The winner got, So whether
against
that's
United,
in your head or, that would maybe, I might have a little flicker of that, but the first one was the Tottenham Man City Cup final, the replay. I remember that vividly, the kind of commentary, that Ricky Villa goal, the little dribble, the check back, and the finish, that kind of stands out. So that's probably the first one that's reasonably vivid. And then a couple of cracking ones after that. Coventry got to a cup final. I remember that kind of stands out. There was the kind of Brighton-Manchester United final, lads, when Brighton had a great chance to win it late in the game. 1v1. I think Gary Bailey came out, didn't he, and got an important block. Just small little snippets. I don't remember too many of the games from start to finish, lads. But little things like that have stuck in my memory. And they're quite magical, actually, to be honest with you, because in terms of the 90s and 2000s, John, now you've touched off a couple of finals there. I have very little recollection. When I came over to England, obviously you get your head down, you start grafting and stuff, and obviously you grow up a little bit and you kind of move on. But the FA Cup hasn't affected me the same way since then. Pre-1990, those little moments I've spoken about, they're kind of like gold dust. They're magic, those moments. But after that, to be honest with you, I'm sure there have been a few cup finals, good cup finals. Wigan maybe sticks out when they won it under Martinez and things like that. But they haven't really affected me, lads, to be honest with you. Haven't really stuck with me. They don't mean as much to me as those games. Those games, they're in my memory from those times.
So Shane, you don't have to give your age, but you're probably the same age as the pair of us around then. Well, I think I'm a little bit younger than Kenny, but what was it for you? Was it Coventry '87? Was it '91? Was it Ricky Villa? I don't know if you were that young.
Yeah, well, look, I probably will give away the age a bit on this. The Ricky Villa one was probably a bit early for me. I would have been, Ricky Villa was what, 86? I would have been 4 or 5. Look, I've got a 5-year-old myself who'll sit down at the start of a match and he wanders off within 5 minutes of kickoff. So I was probably the same when I was that age. So I probably wasn't properly taking it in. The first one, again, as a Spurs fan, JD, the first one that would definitely stick in my head is 91. Pretty sure it might have been the first time my dad ever took me into a pub for a game. Obviously, we had Forest in the final. And look, obviously, as a Spurs fan, it sticks out. But I think I think most people will remember that game because there was so many different talking points that came out of the game. Obviously, Gaza's failure to keep his emotions in check. Probably should have been sent off twice inside the opening 10 minutes of the game. And that second foul, I mean, you think of the amount of things that spiraled out of that second foul. I mean, for starters, it was probably a straight red tackle on its own. Secondly, you know, it put him out for the entirety of the following season, and some would argue that attempted tackle stopped him ever actually fulfilling the full of the potential that he had. He probably never became the player that he could have been on the back of that tackle. And then the resultant free kick. Oh my God! I mean, what a strike! I watched it back again this morning. It's I mean, if you know, people talk about your Roberto Carlos's and your Ronaldo knuckleballs. That strike from Pearce, that ball moved as fast as any ball I've ever seen move. And the other thing that struck me watching it back, JD, it's worth looking at again. Brian Clough's reaction. Oh my God!
Very strange.
I've seen non-reactions in my time, but he looked. I've never seen somebody look so nonplussed at a goal in my life. Never moved a muscle and just sat there as if nothing had happened. I don't know how he did it.
Well, we're actually streaming at the moment as well as being on the radio here in Newstalk. We're streaming on our social channels for Periscope, YouTube and Facebook, and on the new OTB Sports app. Interesting you say that, Fadil. I actually have the programme. I'm showing the programme at the screen here. My brother-in-law, he's much older than me, and he met my sister in Spain in the 80s, and they eventually got married, and he's from Middlesex, and he's a Spurs nut, and he got me into supporting Spurs by the fact that I lost a game of snooker when I was 7 or 8, and I would have got a fiver if I won, 5 punts. The brown punt, and I would have, if I'd won, but I lost, so I had to end up supporting Spurs. So I actually have the programme which he gave me from the 1991 FA Cup final. Roy Keane is in it as a young lad. He played in the game, Roy Keane. I'll just describe what they say about him here, if I can find it. Roy Keane for Nottingham Forest, trying to get it here. They were describing that like he made his debut against Liverpool at Anfield, and he'd be introduced to. Rumour has it he'd be introduced to the teammates in the dressing room at Anfield, but I can't actually find it here on the programme. But anyway, Kenny, it's funny, actually, you played in a semi-final. You played in an FA Cup semi-final in '97 for Wimbledon against Chelsea. Can you remember, Kenny?
Trying to forget it, John. I'm trying to forget it. One of the problems of coming on these shows, you start going down these trips down memory lane. Unfortunately, it just ends up with me getting the raging hump, picking over old scabs. But yeah, I did. We made it to a semi-final one year. We kind of stumbled our way to the semis. We beat Sheffield Wednesday, actually. What I remember about that run is we went up to Sheffield Wednesday in the quarterfinals, and it was a decent enough old team then. And we beat them 3-0. This was with Wimbledon, obviously. And we played really well. And it was a really good... Shane will know, you're just everybody's on it from a defensive point of view. We're absolutely rock solid, gave nothing away. Away from home, people think, you're up against it, but the mentality was great. We kind of dealt with the occasion. Everybody was on it, scored 3 goals, never in danger, never a moment of panic, just kind of saw through. And those kind of performances and big moments are quite few and far between. So that was probably the highlight there. That was as good as a goal. We didn't realise it at the time because we went down to Highbury in the semi-final and we got rinsed, absolutely taken asunder by Chelsea. They beat us, I think it was 3-0, John. You probably have the result in front of you.
I do, yeah.
Was it 3-0? Yeah,
3-0, yeah.
We didn't, you could say we didn't deal with the occasion, we didn't turn up, whatever, but we weren't at our best. And I remember personally I was struggling with a groin strain for a couple of weeks before, and had to go up to London, get a few injections the day before, and it kind of helped. But when you're not quite at it, you're not 100%. You haven't got a total confidence in your body in terms of what you're just kind of feeling your way through the game. And it's one of those situations. The game was over, and it just felt as if the moment it passed you by a little bit. Never felt as if I really made a big contribution to the game, and Chelsea, it was a comfortable victory for Chelsea. So, yeah, people say, "Oh, FA Cup semi, whoa," but really, realistically, it's one I want to forget, like, because it was that feeling coming back into the dressing room afterwards, having worked so hard to get there. Those opportunities are few and far between an FA Cup semi-final, and collectively feeling as if, we weren't at our best today. And personally myself, not really didn't deliver the performance that I wanted. So, a bit of anguish, a few bad memories, more bad memories there, John, unfortunately. Don't want to drag the show down, but that's the way it was.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I asked people on Twitter this before we came on, and people can text in on 53106 just about what the FA Cup final meant to you. And to read some of them out here. Donny Reagan, May 1995, Paul Rideout's header sends the communion day up in smoke, Rosette in the bin, gone. Joe running around the house celebrating Owen's double in 2001, then Gerrard's screamer of an equaliser against West Ham in injury time. Unshin, Michael Thomas in 92 with a great goal, actually much better than I thought. John Byrne's quest, this is John Byrne, the Irish international, to break the record scoring in every round, not happening. Cantona's late goal in 1960, Matteo's early one in the year that Kenny lost the semi-final in 1997. That was for Chelsea at the time. Justin Mason, 85, first time I ever saw my father swear when Kevin Moran was sent off. 86, favourite day as a kid Liverpool fan. 88, stunned that we lost. First day I didn't cry after a big match that Liverpool lost. 96, white suits that morning, splitting up with the girl I was with at the time. A red gunner, slain for Guns N' Roses, wore my 1989 jersey, which still fits, watched in a packed pub in the village to see Arsenal beat Chelsea, and even Ozil played well, then down to watch Axel strut his stuff. Absolutely magic. This is what it's all about, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when Kenny talks like there about, like, you would be inclined to think that the big clubs don't take the FA Cup as seriously as they used to. Yet, I mean, looking through things, like if you take what we would refer to as the traditional big six at the moment, JD, like there's been 3 clubs outside of those 6 teams win the FA Cup in the last 30 years. They still have a complete monopoly on it. And that's why it is so brilliant when the likes of Wigan, Portsmouth pull off what they do. I mean, I can just imagine being a supporter of an underdog on a day like that. It must be an absolutely incredible feeling for them. But unfortunately, those occasions are all too rare, and we do tend to end up more often than not with what we've got again this season, which is 2 of the bigger sides coming into it.
Yeah, 53106. Keith Houchin sticks in my mind in 87. The best diving header I've seen at the time. Still think it was an amazing goal, fit to win any final. That is from Eamon in Kildare. So it's Arsenal against Chelsea at 5:30, Kenny. Does it make a big difference for Arteta or Lampard if they actually pick up this silverware, do you think?
I don't think it makes a big difference in terms of kind of their jobs under threat. Yeah. I think both of the football clubs have made a commitment to both managers to the medium to maybe short to medium term anyway, I suppose. Long term probably doesn't apply in the modern games when it comes to managers, but yeah, I think their jobs are secure. But I think it'll certainly strengthen their hands going into the summer transfer window, John, if Odin was to win this competition, because I think the confidence the managers will gain from it themselves. I think how they're perceived by the players inside the dressing room, actually leading the team to a cup final and winning a trophy. And obviously how they're regarded and perceived by the chief executive, club owners, etc., being a successful and a trophy-winning manager. I think that will help them, particularly when the likes of Lampard and Arteta, as they will go banging on the chief executive's door, head of recruitment, whoever it is, football recruitment in the summer, demanding players in certain areas of the pitch and players of a certain quality who are going to cost a certain amount of money. So I think it'll strengthen their hand in that respect. And I think just create a kind of, it'll help the environment around the football club. Arteta constantly speaks about what he's looking to build, the environment he's looking to build around the football club, and Lampard to a certain extent. And when you're trying to do that, you have to bring the players on board. You preach to the players and you hope they buy into what you're saying. Well, as a player, it's a lot easier to buy into what the manager's saying. When he's saying, look, follow me, trust me, I'll be successful. We'll win trophies. We'll win the bigger trophies. We'll talk is cheap. But when you can actually deliver one of those trophies in your very first year, then the player very quickly, even more so for me, kind of get on board, start believing you and start trusting you. So I think it does hold some significance, probably more significance than some people might think for both of these managers.
And Kenny as well, Aubameyang, if you're 31 years of age like he is now, you got a 1 year left in your deal, reported interest, and there's always reported interest, isn't there, with agents and everything from Barca, Real, Inter, Juventus, a 20-goal-a-season player. Do you stay at Arsenal?
It's a difficult call. That I don't know the fella personally. I like him as a player. I like his attributes. I like how he kind of carries himself in terms of his personality. He looks to be the type of player who kind of integrates well into the dressing room, would be quite popular within the confines of the dressing room. He's an outstanding player. He's equally effective for me off the left as he is down the centre. I suppose it's what he values most, because I think if he commits himself to Arsenal for the next maybe 2 to 3 years, it looks as if he wants a 3-year contract, and invariably money's going to be a big factor in terms of whether he signs or not, John. But for me, I don't see Arsenal qualifying for the Champions League through their league position for the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years potentially. So I think if he signs a contract, Aubameyang, at 31 years of age, he might well think, if I sign this contract, I'm never going to play Champions League football again. That might maybe derail the situation. Now, he might suck that up. He might think, you know what, I love this football club. I like my position within the football club. I'm really enjoying my football. Financially, Arsenal may push as much as they can to keep him. He may well appreciate that. Living in London, the whole family thing, that's all part of it. And he may feel that's enough. Put the Champions League football to the side. He may think, do you know what, that's enough. That's enough for me. But if he's a player who's absolutely driven by playing for the biggest trophies, playing amongst the elite, and with the age that he's at, 31 years of age, in his prime, probably knowing within 2 or 3 years there will be a drop-off in terms of performances. If he values that Champions League competition higher than anything else, that might be the tipping point where he says, you know what, I'm going to go now. As well as I'm playing, this is the opportunity for me to go and get a club where I can actually play Champions League football for the next 2 years when I'm at my very best, and actually compete for the biggest prize and actually look to get a Champions League medal. But I don't know. I don't know the player well enough, but I'm sure those are the things that will be buzzing around his head. But from an Arsenal point of view, I'd push as far as I can to keep him. I know people say, Arsenal supporters will say, just give him what he wants, which is a ridiculous statement to make. I mean, that's what they did with Ozil. That's what Wenger did with Ozil. And look at the problems that created. For me, it cost him Aaron Ramsey. That's why he left the football club, because he was looking for parity in terms of wages for Ozil, which they wouldn't give. So you make that exception for one player, there's a ripple effect to that. You have to bring everybody else in the squad up a certain level, and the better players are always going to be looking for parity with that player. So that's the problem that they created with Ozil. They've got to be very careful they don't make the same mistake again. Is it
an easy thing to forget, Kenny, that like for a board, that you've given Ozil a 3.5-year deal, they're throwing now bad money after good? Will it influence what they do with Aubameyang, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be interested in what Shane thinks, but I think they would have been. For me, it struck as if Wenger drove the Ozil contract. He went to the board. We're talking about managers being in a position of authority. Well, nobody had greater power than Wenger when he was at that football club. He pretty much dictated what players came and went, who got what contract or whatever. And it seemed to me that he really pushed for Ozil to get that contract, £300,000, £400,000 a week, wherever it was. I thought it was the wrong decision. At the time, I still believe that that's the case for the reasons that I've said. So, yeah, I think you do get burned. You look back and you think, right, next time we're not going to make the same mistake. Now, don't get me wrong. I think at this moment in Arsenal's development, I think Aubameyang is a key player. If he gives the right type of example to the younger players within the squad, he's someone who they can look up to, and he'll kind of play that kind of supporting role within the confines of the dressing room with the younger players. And add that to the individual qualities which he has as a player, as goal scoring, etc. For me, yeah, I'd be pushing as much as I could to keep him out of the football club. But to say give him whatever he wants, I'd never go as far as to say give the player whatever he wants. Financially, wherever he wants, give it to him. It doesn't matter, he's too important. No, I'd never say that. There's always the limit he can go at, particularly Arsenal at this moment in time from a financial point of view. But I think from a footballing perspective, for me, I get a feeling as if they're definitely stronger with Aubameyang in the dressing room for a number of different reasons.
I'm kind of thinking it's a bit of Groundhog Day here, Shane, with Arsenal and FA Cup finals, and Arteta was involved as a captain a few years ago. He won 2 of them under Wenger. I think he, in a way, is in the straitjacket. That I think he's been very impressive personally. I think he's been very impressive since he came in, but he's a lot of work to do, and will he get the support to do so? Aubameyang being a key, pivotal symbol of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Jenny. I did commentary on his first game on Charge. I did commentary for yourselves on it with Dave, and it was, I was really interested to see how he'd go about things that day. And there's no doubt, look, he managed to shake that kind of laxness that you'd associate with Arsenal out of them, and they did start to become a more hard-working team. Like, the big one, I suppose, with him has been, the handling of Ozil, obviously. I mean, he's really gone from one extreme to the other. Like, Ozil, I think, was like the only player who played every minute of every game for him pre-COVID. And he seemed to be getting, certainly in the initial games, that first game anyway, Ozil was really, really good for the first half, died a bit in the second, as he can do. But to bomb him entirely is an extreme move in a different direction. But I think it's probably one that most people would say had to be done. The other one that's interesting in terms of how he's handled it, obviously, is David Luiz, because he's done the opposite there. I think most people would have looked for him to bomb David Luiz out as well, but he's kept faith in him. Look, you don't want to speak too soon with David Luiz because God knows what he could do this evening, but certainly that semi-final performance was arguably one of the performances of David Luiz's career. It really, really was fantastic. Guendouzi, another one. There's an awful lot of challenges going on there apart from just the Aubameyang one. He's got an awful lot of things to figure out before the new season kicks off. But look, as Kenny says, just in terms of the belief that the players in the dressing room will have in the way he is going about doing the role, if he could pick up that trophy this evening, he'd fancy his chances heading into the new season all that bit more,
53106 for the text messages. FA Cup memories. I remember the 88 final with Wimbledon. This is a Liverpool fan. I run out the door celebrating when Beardsley scored. I went through the rest of the half thinking we were 1-0 up, not realising the dopey ref had ruled it out. Scandalous decision, says Rob in Monaghan. Pira scoring against Southampton. I had him 7-1 as first goal scorer. Watched it in the Outpost in Cork with a gang of us from college. I'd stay down for the weekend. It means the Europa League for Arsenal. That's big. And hi lads, says Arsenal's record in the FA Cup, 13 wins, 21 finals. Say anything about them as a club when their league win record is relatively poor. That is from Sean. I don't think you can really correlate it, Kenny, can you?
No, I don't think so. There's too many other mitigating factors there in terms of how serious other clubs take the competition. I know Shane said it, and he's right in terms of the stats, in terms of big clubs winning the competition. But for me, it's how it's perceived by clubs further down the chain. And over the last 10 years, I've got used to seeing championship clubs kind of surrender games in the FA Cup, prioritise promotion to the Premier League, even teams in Division 1 in the shake-up. You know what I mean? Just kind of push the importance of those FA Cup ties to the side. So you're right, invariably it's the bigger clubs that end up there, such as the quality, the strength and depth of their squads. But I think it's the perception, how seriously it's actually taken by the kind of all of the football clubs down the chain over the past 10 years, which has been the sad thing, which has really been the demise in the competition for me. But as a one-off game, it'll be a wonderful game. Even the 5:30 kickoff today, lads, I mean, I know it's only a small thing, but, 5:30 in the afternoon, that traditional, 3 o'clock
Get the beers
kickoff.
in, Kenny. Get the beers and the nachos in.
I'm teetotal for a start, so that's not going to happen. Plus, me TV's on the blink. I actually haven't had a telly for a week and a half, so I might actually be struggling to watch the game this afternoon in all honesty. But I will get to see it at some stage. I'm more interested in the game itself in terms of the two teams. I think they're reasonably well-matched teams tactically, how the managers set the teams up. I'm probably more interested in that really than in terms of it would have been an FA Cup final per se. Yeah,
Shane, I don't know if you're a beer and nachos guy or a milk and cookies guy or whatever, but
I'm interested. I don't think Kenny can just skip by that so easy. Kenny, how have you not had a television for the last week and a half?
Oh no, Shane, I've done the switch. I've been me Sky, and I tried to get a BT box, and I was assured on the phone by the girl. I said, look, this is going to be a big aggravation now because I can't be dealing with all. No. You take your Sky box out and you put your BT box in. End of story. So that was 2 weeks ago. I still have no TV coverage since. She died, basically.
Hasn't played out like that.
No.
Look, I think the kickoff time is an interesting one. Like, Jenny, to me, FA Cup final day used to actually be a day.
No, it was from 8 o'clock in the morning,
I was that into it that you would get up in the morning and I remember there'd be coverage of the teams leaving the hotel and the bus driving through London and all this kind of crack. And like you'd watch the entirety of the build-up. They used to get like 4 or 5 hours out of the pre-match coverage. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then you'd have, I suppose, used to be 3 o'clock kickoff. I used to love all that. I mean, probably the last one I remember where it was still the biggest thing, that the whole country was talking about on the day was 96.
The white suits.
Yeah, 96. United Liverpool. Like it's amazing how rare that cup final has been. Really, I suppose with two such massively supported sides, they really haven't met it. I think it's twice ever. But like it was absolute standing room only in our local that day. Anyway, the place was absolutely packed. It really, really was. And it was just a fantastic atmosphere. And that morning, even though I didn't support either side myself, the amount of people in one jersey or the other around the place, and that. I can't really remember. Look, there's been some good cup finals. I'll tell you what, we get a hell of a lot of excellent cup final goals. There really, really is a fantastic selection when you look back at them. But that's, to me, Kenny saying he can't really remember any kind of from the 90s on having as much importance. For me, that 96 one, I can't remember any of them carrying as much importance since then. Okay, the 2001 one, I enjoyed that. The Michael Owen one, it was a great game. Michael Owen, obviously himself, was fantastic that day. That was another day where a lot of the country seemed to be taking interest in what was going on. You know?
Well, we've got to take a break. We'll talk about Chelsea after it, and then a lot more football between now and 5 with Kenny Cunningham and Shane Keegan. We're delighted to say we've got a brand new Liverpool jersey to give away on today's show. The Nike Football 2020-2021 Liverpool FC home kit features a vibrant red, traditional white and teal colourway. Taking inspiration from the Liverpool crest and the liver birds that overlook the city on the iconic liver building. The new kit available to pre-order in-store and online. Now, to be in with a chance of winning yours today, simply tell us who was Liverpool's top scorer in the Premier League this past season. Text the word Liverpool, followed by your name and answer to 53106 on our competition. Off the Ball Saturday on Newstalk. John Duggan here with it through until 5 o'clock. We need to take a break. Back in a moment.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. As potent as Rashford and Fernandes. Post-lockdown. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Coming up on Alive and Kicking this weekend. Dr. Laura Lenihan talks sharing family life online and why skin is her thing. I'll be joined by Owen McCluskey of Bread 41 in Dublin to talk about Sourdough the superhero, and Dr. Helena Boshi, author of Why We Do What We Do, on the effects of modern life on our brains.
Alive and Kicking with Claire McKenna.
This Sunday from 9 a.m.
on Newstalk.
QuoteDevil.ie can save you money on your car insurance, van insurance or home insurance. Quote Devil Home Insurance is so easy. Get a quote in just 60 seconds and purchase cover in 3 minutes.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Quote Devil Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
From the apartment in the city to the cottage in the country, at Energia, we're the power behind 250,000 customers across Ireland. And right now, there's never been a better time to join us and save on your electricity and gas with our cheapest dual fuel bundle. Wherever you're living, know you always get the biggest savings by coming direct to us. Go direct to energia.ie and switch today. Energia, the power behind your savings. EAB €1,364 based on average annual usage. 12-month contract, discounted unit rates, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax, T's and C's and early termination fee apply. Valid from June 2020 and subject to change. Verification and T's and C's at energia.ie/EAB.
At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the heart of thriving communities.
Which is why we support Original Irish Hotels, Ireland's largest collection of independent hotels, castles and manor house hotels. These hotels offer a truly local experience, employing local people and supporting local food producers. We call on you to support Original Irish Hotels when you travel again. Guaranteed Irish welcomes companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Irish-made craft is created to spark joy and conversation. To own a piece of Irish design helps continue the story. From the heart of our creative economy. Be a local champion and shop Irish design in-store or online today. Made local. You can own it. supported by the Design and Crafts Council.
Reduce, reuse, recycle, restore. The small changes we make go a long way. So say hello to the new Fiat 500 with hybrid technology. And now, with a €1,364 contribution towards your deposit, you can drive away from as little as €45 per week. See fiat.ie for further details. Paid in 48 monthly instalments of €195. Financed by way of PCP, €5,595 deposit. Optional final payment of €4,832. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Finance is arranged by First Auto Finance Ireland Limited, the exclusive agent of Close Brothers Limited, trading as Close Brothers Motor Finance in Ireland. Close Brothers Limited is authorised by the Prudential Regulations Authority in the United Kingdom and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Is your business or office reopening soon? Need face masks for your staff and employees? Protect them with Stay Safe. Proudly made here in Ireland, Stay Safe face masks are comfortable, easy to use and ideal for everyday use. And have a polypropylene filter with a bacterial filter rate of more than 98%. Visit mystaysafe.ie and use coupon code RADIO to get a 10% discount for a limited time only and free delivery. Stay safe with mystaysafe.ie. That's mystaysafe.ie.
At Specsavers, our stores are now open. So if your hearing or sight isn't quite right, please get in contact. We're doing everything to make sure your safety comes first, from limiting the people in store to disinfecting glasses and test equipment. We'll be wearing protective gear, so if you can't see our friendly faces behind our masks, we promise they're still there.
Specsavers, open with you in mind. Book an appointment online or call your nearest store.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on Newstalk. John Duggan with you through till 5 o'clock. We're in the company this afternoon of the former Republic of Ireland skipper Kenny Cunningham and the opposition analyst with the Dundalk, Shane Keegan. Remember, our football coverage is brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. We're streaming live as well now. You can watch us as well on Periscope, for Twitter, at Off the Ball, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the new OTB Sports app. Download that now for iOS and Android. Search OTB Sports in the App Store. Previewing the FA Cup final, 5:30. Arsenal against Chelsea at Wembley. Unfortunately, as we all know, behind closed doors. Just a few tweets that we were putting out, call-outs for people's FA Cup memories and kind of moments that resonated with them more in the old days than the contemporary times. But John Norton has to be the 1979 final. Arsenal against United. Great game on my communion day. Alan Sunderland scoring the winner. Was at my uncle's, a crazy United fan. Scott Dunn, my dad jumping up and down when Oldham took the lead against Man United in the 94 semi. He followed Spurs. This is the texture. And my smug face when Mark Hughes volleyed in the equaliser in the last minute. Ruth Donay, 1973 FA Cup final. Devastated 7-year-old wondering why my team Leeds didn't hockey Sunderland, and we should have. Still, it set me up for the ups and downs of life ever since. And Enna Collins, can you remember any from 2000 to 2015? I can't. 83 replay win over Brighton. 85 Kevin Moore and Paul McGrath and Norman Whiteside celebrating the full time for United. 1990 Lee Martin winner, the Jim Leighton Les Seeley decision. 1995 Dogs of War, and not to mention, as Shane Keegan pointed out there, the pre-match lead-in programmes. And a trivia question, I don't know the answer to this. C. Dinney on Twitter, lads, has there ever been a player who's won both FAI Cup and FA Cup winners' medals? Google hasn't given me the answer. Maybe Off the Ball listeners can help me out. 53106. Do you know, guys? I don't know.
Wouldn't have thought so.
Wouldn't have thought so, yeah. I wouldn't have thought
I
so.
think Paul, Big Paul and things like Kevin Moore, but no, I don't. That would have been the guy, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and Paul was only a Pats for a year. Chelsea, Kenny, Kepa might not be at the club next season. 2 years into a 7-year deal. The club have conceded 54 goals, but doesn't seem to be right at the top of Lampard's Christmas card list, even in August. Do you think he deserves to stay at the club?
I don't. It looks as if the manager's made his mind up, John. That's the most important thing. He's left him out during the course of the season, and you could argue he still has confidence in him. A young player, still developing, new league. He's going to stick with him. But the fact that he dropped him the other week, for me, he was almost sending a statement, Lampard, to the board to say, look, I've come to the end of my I've made the decision. Now. He's not good enough. You need to go and get me a new goalkeeper. Just shows you how maybe confident he's becoming. Lampard actually surprised me a little bit, because I looked at the areas of the pitch where they needed strength, and I always felt I hadn't got a huge amount of confidence in the goalkeeper. But I thought Lampard wouldn't pick a fight with the board in terms of the goalkeeper. I thought he'd suck that one up and maybe look to invest in other areas of the pitch. But clearly he's made his mind up. I read a couple of comments from Peter Cech not too long ago, and he was actually supporting Kepa big time. He was a big, strong supporter of the keeper, saying, "No, stick with him. This lad's going to be top class. Just got to show a bit of confidence, etc., etc." So for Lampard to come out publicly, although he hasn't said in as many words, but the fact that he left him out of the pitch, he's as good as said, "Look, he's not for me." So he's put himself up against not just the board, but also Cech in particular. And it'd be interesting to see who actually wins that fight. But I'd have to say though, I think he's right, because if he's lost confidence in the keeper, if he doesn't believe believe the keeper has the kind of personality, we can talk about his physical attributes, he doesn't make enough saves, etc., etc. But I think a goalkeeper at a club like that, I think it's all about kind of personality as well, or a presence that you have on the pitch and off the pitch as well. And if Lampard's looked at him closely, lads, over the past year, he's given a little bit of time. I won't jump to conclusion. He's kind of observing him from a close distance, and eventually he's come to the conclusion, maybe a couple of weeks ago, no, that's it. Not for me now. I've got to get him out. I've got to get a top-class keeper in here if we're going to have any ambitions of winning a league title and potentially a Champions League 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So I give him a lot of credit for that, because the easiest thing would have been to keep quiet. I mean, he's not the worst goalkeeper in the world. Maybe suck it up, but he hasn't. He's come out, made the statement about the keeper, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the summer.
Olivier Giroud, Kenny's been having an Indian summer. Former Arsenal player, of course, can't stop scoring.
Really?
Recently, yeah.
Can't stop scoring. Oh, recently, I'll just qualify a little bit there, John.
Yeah,
last 2 games?
Yeah.
No, look, I'm not going to talk him down. I like Giroud. Again, I like how he carries himself on the pitch. He hasn't been a first choice. He's an experienced player. Doesn't seem to be the type to mope around the place either. I say he's good within the confines of the dressing room with the other players. A good player, a good experienced player to have around the dressing room. When he has his qualities, he's a little bit restricted in terms of those qualities which he has. He's not the most athletic. He's not going to run away from too many centre-halves down the channels, etc. But he understands the position. He knows his strengths, and he makes good runs into the box. I'll give him that. You know, he might be the quickest over kind of 10 yards, but he times his run really well across the front of defenders. So he's definitely a good one to have within the confines of the squad. I think potentially Abraham, for me, is the one that has the better all-round game, but he's got to develop and improve, and he's got to want to improve and knuckle down and become better. But Giroud is the type of player, I think, for a manager, any type of manager, regardless of a young manager, an experienced pro, a number 9, who understands the game, good in the dressing room, good with the younger players, and who won't let you down when you lean on him. So, yeah, a good one to have. But I think potentially going forward, they need to do better. And with Werner coming into the football club with Abrahams, I'm sure in the kind of short to medium term, Lampard will hope 1 or 2 of those players will actually hold down that number 9 position and make it their own over the next year or 2.
Who's impressed you most, Shane, with the Chelsea up-and-comers? Mount, Abraham, Reece James. Obviously, Pulisic was a signing, but he's been very impressive of late.
Long-term, JD. Long-term, I don't think you've actually named the one. Billy Gilmore, for me, has...
Yeah, he's injured at the moment, yeah.
Oh, what a player. I just think he's a continental player. It's probably the easiest way to describe him. I just love watching him playing. He's absolutely got eyes in the back of his head. Kind of a mix, half mix between Iniesta and Xavi, to be honest. Watching him to so far, look, he's got a good few years before he's going to hit his absolute prime. But I think he can be a world class player. I really do think he can develop. But the problem now for Frank, obviously, is going to be with the money that they're spending going forward. You know, it was probably an ideal role for him, really, the whole restriction around transfers and having to go with youth. And he's done very well. And as you say, the players you've named out there have done very well. You know, the likes of Mason Mount, Billy Gilmore, Tammy, fellas like that. And now you've got big names coming in, a lot of money being spent. And are those fellas going to disappear off the radar a little bit? He's got a bit more of a balancing act to go, and obviously with the extra spend, he's now going to have the pressure next season that he didn't really have this year. As I say, I think it was an ideal first season gig for him. I think the real test is going to be how he juggles all that talent next season.
We've an answer, lads. FAI Cup and FA Cup winners. Tony Dunn, Shelburne in 1960 and Man United in 1963. Well done, Declan in Dublin 13 for knowing that. Kenny, Lampard on the touchline against Klopp was kind of funny. That happens probably a million times and we never see it because the cameras aren't on it. But he's got an edge, as you said. He's got a bit of confidence. Obviously, he's done it on the pitch, and I think he's probably the right fit at the moment.
Yeah, I thought it was the right fit when he came through the doors, to be honest with you, John. I know we've spoken about it before, but for me, it was the right fit. Now, people spoke about a lack of experience, etc., but I looked at the other attributes which Lampard has, and I just felt in the certainly short, medium, even the long term, he was the right choice. I think he's a very good eye for the game, Lampard. I enjoy listening to him speak about football. He talks a lot about the tactical setup in a team. That impresses me. I like his manner. I like the way he deals with people, the type of personality he is. I think he's the type of person players want to play for, whether you're young or old. So, yeah, it hasn't surprised me the impact which he's had. But I'd agree with Shane. This summer is going to be important. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him in terms of his recruitment, because he's going to have to make some big decisions in key areas of the pitch, and he's going to have to spend significantly. He's going to have to scream and shout at the board in terms of players who he wants. And, of course, that's the easy thing to do. When the board relents and gives you these players, the pressure is for these players to perform, because if they don't, it's on your head. So I'm fascinated to see these two or three key players who are coming in. It looks as if it's going to be at centre-half, left-back, and possibly midfield as well. Kai Havertz is, like we've spoken about before, an outstanding player. He'll have to get a couple out the door. He's top heavy in that central area and wide areas of the pitch. I mean, if he comes in, Kai Havertz, he's a number 8. He's a modern day number 9 in that advanced midfield role. Then the likes of Barkley, Loftus-Cheek will have to go out the door, no doubt about it. Ziyech as well coming in. So there's great options there higher up the pitch. But fundamentally, if Chelsea are going to compete for a league title and kind of Champions League over the next couple of years, the balance isn't right in the team, and that kind of hold the midfield and kind of defensive areas of the pitch. And we can include the goalkeeper in that as well.
I think they are looking at Jorginho going out the door as well. I think, JD, are they? There's a lot of talk about him going back to partner up with Sarri back over in Italy as well. So, yeah, I mean, are they going to bring in a replacement for him, or are they just going to kind of juggle that 6 role depending on the opposition between Kante and give Gilmore a real crack at?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, John. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I spoke again, John. We spoke about Jorginho before. I've never felt Chelsea be successful with Jorginho operating in that deep midfield role. Not in the Premier League. Just his lack of mobility, Shane, is kind of a lack of defensive awareness. I just don't think you can carry that type of player in that area of the pitch, such a pivotal area of the pitch. Kante is a totally opposite type of player. Maybe hasn't got Jorginho's passing range, but he's probably the best defensively minded player of his generation. Almost. And you've mentioned young Billy Gilmore, a lovely technician, but he's also got a little bit of bite in him as well. He's mobile, he can get around the pitch, he doesn't mind putting his foot in as well. So I'd agree with you. I don't think they need to do too much more in that central area of the pitch. I've mentioned it before, for me the perfect solution is Declan Rice, because Declan Rice, the versatility Declan Rice has to play at a high level at centre half and also in that holding central midfield area, for me is quite unique. There's not too many players in the modern game, Shane, with that ability. Back in the day, there was always a centre-half who you could drop in the centre mid, would do a job for you defensively. You probably played with them. Throw somebody in there. Not a great passer, but he'd sit there, he'd head it, he'd give the 2 centre-halves a bit of protection. Just keep it simple. Wouldn't overly complicate it. There's not too many of those players now who can really excel in that holding midfield role and also at centre-half. And Declan Rice is one of those few players. I think he's the one for me.
Got to take a break, Kenny and Shane. Back after 4 o'clock. John Giles, Leeds 72, Shamrock Rovers 78, FA Cup and FAI Cup winners' medals. Off the Ball Saturday on Newstalk. Back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Forward. It's the one move we're all ready to take. And at the Audi Moving Forward sales event, we're ready to help you on that journey. All Audi dealerships are now open, with tailored solutions to suit your individual needs, like the Audi A6 Saloon, with PCP finance from only €499 per month. Now is the time to make an appointment. Now is the time to start moving forward. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, subject to lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Visit audi.ie/A6 2020 for further information.
It's the furniture sale at Flanagan Kearns. Time to change that mattress or sofa? Well, now's the time. Call into our spacious showrooms and speak to the experts. We've discounts on all top Irish brands like King Coil, O'Dearest and Respa. You also get free delivery, free assembly and free recycling of your replaced bed or mattress. Thank you for supporting Irish manufacturers, Irish family businesses and for shopping local. The furniture sale is now on at Flanagan Kearns. Southern Cross Bray, exit 7 off the N11. Flanagan Kearns, furniture for life.
With the OnPost Money app, you can open a current account from the comfort of your couch, as well as earn money back into your account when you shop with any of our partners. So far, our customers have earned over €1 million, because when it comes to your money, you deserve more than a bank. Download the OnPost Money app or visit your local post office today. OnPost Money current account. Money back is based on spend with selected money back partners. A monthly maintenance fee applies. See onpost.com. Terms and conditions apply. OnPost is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
The Galway Races is usually known to attract its fair share of horse racing bluffers. You'd see more bluffing than a Leaving Cert French oral.
Je suis une grande baguette.
More bluffing than the Monday after in All-Ireland.
I think it's strep throat.
More bluffing than a Leinster House press conference.
Yes, I have in fact read the 300-page tribunal report.
And while no bluffers or experts can attend this year, you can live stream every thrilling minute of action from this year's Galway Races for free on the Paddy Power app. Paddy Power. 18 plus gamblingcare.ie.
At SuperValue, we have everything you need this bank holiday weekend. Like, save 33% on our steak sale across SuperValue Fresh Irish Strip Loin and Sirloin. Plus, save 33% on SuperValue Fresh Irish Fillet Steak from the butcher counter. And buy any 6 bottles of wine and save €10. It's got to be SuperValue. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Afternoons are easy with InsureMyVan.ie, Ireland's low-cost van insurance specialist. Get your business back on the road with InsureMyVan's best price guarantee. For super savings, visit InsureMyVan.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyVan.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Newstalk already gives you your daily fix of news and entertainment. But wouldn't you like a little bit more? Newstalk Extra is everything you might have missed, plus expert tips, podcasts and competitions, all straight to your inbox. Subscribe now at newstalk.com/extra. On 106 to 108 FM, on newstalk.com, on smart speaker and on the Newstalk app. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Douglas. The Green Party Deputy Leader Catherine Martin has said she's standing by a member of the Nighttime Economy Task Force after it was revealed he has a conviction for drug dealing. Sonal Sharp was a minor when he received a suspended sentence for the drugs offence 24 years ago. He has since become one of the country's most respected techno DJs. Green Party TD Patrick Costello says people who have served their sentence should be allowed to move on.
If it had happened a few years later, there'd be no story because the Children's Act 2001 would prevent the name being reported, which is a really positive move. But I think we need to look at the spent convictions legislation that we have so that people who have turned their lives around, who are not offending again, don't carry that with them forever. We welcome them back into society and we let them get on with their life and rebuilding their life.
A man has died in a suspected assault in County Kildare. He was discovered with serious injuries at around 9 o'clock last night. Ben Finnegan reports.
It happened at Glenery Bridge in Rathangan. The victim, who is in his 30s, was taken to Naas General Hospital where he is pronounced dead. Following inquiries by Gardaí, a man in his 20s was arrested in connection to the incident and brought to Kildare Garda Station for questioning. A post-mortem on the victim's body is due to take place at a later date. A full technical examination of the scene has taken place by Gardaí.
€30,000 worth of drugs have been seized in Dublin. Cocaine and MDMA were found on the Rathmines Road at around 8:30 yesterday evening. €15,000 in cash was also recovered and a 25-year-old man's been arrested. He's currently being held at Rathmines Garda Station. Finally, for now, a hurricane's carving its way through the Bahamas and heading towards the Florida coast, where officials in Miami are closing the beaches, marinas and parks. Isaias has sustained winds of 135 kilometres per hour or 85 miles per hour. Evacuation centres have already been set up and people have been urged to have 7 days worth of food, water and medication on hand. That's it for now. We'll have more in an hour.
Newstalk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. Download the new AA app to request a roadside rescue and track the patrol right to your car.
Mostly dull this afternoon with some showers coming in from the west. Those will then become thundery later on this evening with temperatures remaining between 16 and 19 degrees. And now you're up to date on Newstalk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on Newstalk. Here, John Duggan with you through till 5 o'clock in the company of the former Republic of Ireland captain Kenny Cunningham and the opposition analyst with Dundalk, Shane Keegan. Remember, our football coverage is brought to you with thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. You can text us, our text number 53106. Tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming live as well now. You can watch us on the Off the Ball social channels, for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, for YouTube, for Facebook, for the new OTB Sports app. For iOS and Android, search OTB Sports in the App Store now to download it. We're delighted to say in our competition today we've got a brand new Liverpool jersey to give away on the show. The Nike Football 2020-2021 Liverpool FC home kit features a vibrant red, traditional white and teal colourway, taking inspiration from the traditional LFC crest and the Liver birds that overlook the city on the iconic Liver building. The new kit available to pre-order in-store and online. To be with a chance of winning yours today, simply tell us who was Liverpool's top scorer in the Premier League this past season. Text the word Liverpool followed by the answer and your name to 53106. That is the text number for our competition. And also over text on the FA Cup final, 5:30 start between Arsenal and Chelsea at an empty Wembley Stadium. The FA Cup 1964, my first time seeing Bobby Moore play. West Ham beating Preston 3-2. Moore stood out, that is from Tony and Cavan. Great show again, lads. Thank you, James and Waterford, texting in about the 1981 final, Spurs against City, the Ricky Villa final. Amazing game, been a Spurs fan ever since. Great team, Huddle, Ardiles, Archibald, Villa and Crooks, and Ireland's Chris Hughton. Still have got nightmares though about 87, Keith Houchin's goal for Coventry. Memory of Lineker beating Lawrenson in a snooker match before the 86 Cup final. That is from Brian in Dublin. All the build-up back then in the days that the FA Cup was probably more important than it is now in people's consciousness. Kenny, I'm looking forward to an exciting game between Arsenal and Chelsea. How do you see it tactically? Who do you favour and why?
Oh, it's a tough call. I mean, I'd have to reserve judgment, John. I usually do until I see the teams, how they're shaping the teams up and what players are playing in what areas of the pitch, in all honesty. It wouldn't surprise me Arsenal go with the back three. Has kind of served them quite well of late, particularly with Tierney operating in that left of a three. He's looked very comfortable there. And I think it's one of his strengths, actually. I know Scotland have had that problem the last couple of years with Tierney and Robertson, in saying, two outstanding players, but how do you accommodate them into the same side? They're both predominantly kind of left backs. But Tierney's the one who generally has slid in left of the three, and Robertson for Scotland has played in the left wing back role. And I like Tierney a lot. I always have. I mean, he's very productive going forward. He's a great athlete, very quick. Actually, good defender as well. I think he can only get better. So I think he's the actual ideal fit in that kind of back three, left of the three. And I think when you play that system, for me, I always look to see, can I get two fullbacks into those two wide areas when you're playing with a three? They've got to be able to defend, of course. They have to have that defensive mindset. But if they can, I think you get the best of both worlds, because you get two defenders who are very comfortable sliding into those full-back areas and defending 1v1, because that's an area of the pitch which they're very used to defending in. And also in possession, you get, generally speaking, your full-backs are very competent on the ball, can travel into midfield and, break the lines with their pass and even go and involve themselves. So I like the way Arteta shaped his team up. Like I've said, the front three are always dangerous. Aubameyang, Lacazette, has looked sharp of late. I'd like to see the young boy Saka in the team. I'm a big fan of his. But obviously a bit of pressure to put Pepe with the price tag. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts as well. So a very dangerous side, Arsenal. Still not convinced of the centre midfield, I must admit. I know Ceballos is a good footballer, a very tidy technician. And Jack has responded well. The low point he had in his Arsenal career some time ago. But I don't think that's the strongest axis in that central midfield area from a defensive point of view. Not a huge amount of kind of pace and mobility in there. So I think that's an area of the pitch Chelsea might have the advantage, possibly over Arsenal. I expect Chelsea maybe 4-3-3. I know he fluctuates between them both, Lampard, but my gut tells me his preferred system of play is a 4-3-3. that enables him to get those 2 advanced number 8s into the team in those central midfield areas. And obviously he takes his pick of his 3 forward players. He has some good options there. So I think it's a very tough game to call. I'd reserve judgment, like I said, but I think potentially maybe Chelsea just with the edge.
Well, we'll give you the teams when we have them, Kenny, as soon as we have them. Waterford have beaten Shelbourne by 1-0 in the League of Ireland Premier Division. That is a full-time in. Shane, same question effectively to you. Arsenal, Chelsea, how do you assess it tactically and who's your money on? I've just backed a winning horse here, so I'm happy. So I want to put money on somebody, Shane. Who am I going to put my euro on? Shane? No, we seem to have lost Shane's connection there on Skype. Kenny, Willian, is he somebody you'd be keeping at Chelsea?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd literally be, if he was trying to get out the door, I'd literally be on me, had my arms around his ankles, pulling him back inside, playing with him. Because I think he's that important, John. He's a player who kind of stands out for me. I've never seen someone play with a level of consistency that he has for Chelsea over the past couple of years. And remember that big downturn Chelsea had that 1 year. Who was who was in charge?
Jose, was it Jose before Conte?
Jose's last year, was it? Just everything absolutely fell apart. It was absolute turmoil. Nobody was happy. He was picking fights everywhere, Marino, left, right and centre. And he was the one player on the pitch who always struck me and maintained his level of consistency week in, week out. I think he actually finished the season with double figures. I think it was the year he was hitting the top corner for every second free kick that he took. But reminds me, he's quite robotic. He's like a machine in terms of what he does. His technical ability, first touch, decision-making in possession, dribbling ability, never gets flustered, and somebody you can absolutely, totally trust as a manager. You know, when you put him on the pitch, you know exactly what you're going to get out of him week in, week out. Now, I know he's out of contract, and obviously maybe a little bit similar to Aubameyang. He'll be demanding heaven and earth in terms of the financial package and length of contract, etc. But again, I'll be doing absolutely everything if I was Lampard. I know he's got some good options in that area of the pitch going forward. But for me, he's the type of personality you want to keep a hold of, because if he doesn't and he walks out the door, there'll be a number of other Premiership sides in particular, and probably this team as well across London, Arsenal, who'll be absolutely chomping at the bit to get him inside the doors for the reasons that I've said.
Yeah, and he's got the same agent as Luis, you know. There you go.
Yeah. Well, what's your point?
Yeah, well, there you go. I don't know many agents. Shane, I think you got you back now. We're looking to call this Arsenal-Chelsea game at 5:30. How do you call it? Why is either team going to win? What do you see it tactically? How do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, I think it is a very fascinating tactical battle, Jerry, because as Kenny's kind of touched on there, both managers have actually bounced between a back 3 and a back 4. So they're trying to figure out which they think is the best system to go for themselves, while also trying to second guess which system the opposition are likely to go with. I mean, you know, put myself in the manager's shoes in a week leading into a big game, there's an awful lot to be done on the training ground, because you're trying to plan, okay, we could be coming up against back 4 lads, we could be coming up against the back 3 lads. Our plan A is to go with, let's call it the back 4, but we may switch to a back 3. There's a huge amount to get through in terms of the variables on the pitch. I think the constant will be Chelsea, in that Chelsea have had a fairly consistent level all season, and I think you probably know what you're going to get out of them. Their performance is going to be at a certain level. The game is going to swing on what Arsenal turn up. It really, really is, because they can be there and they can be there. They really have a huge variance in terms of their height, their best performance, and their inadequate performances, which there's been plenty of as well. For that reason, I would probably lean towards Chelsea. I just think there's a bit more consistency there. But at the same time, you are aware that if Arsenal really, really turn up, and when they're at their very best, as they showed against City, they're capable of beating anybody. But with your extra few quid in your pocket, yeah, I'd probably lean towards. I'll tell you where I'd put it. I'd put it on Pulisic for first goal. I think he's a great bit of stuff.
Oh, I love him. He's just so exciting to watch, isn't he? And so young as well. He looks older, but he's quite young, 21 years of age. I'm thinking, guys, we'll go through it again. We get the teams in, as Kenny was saying there, when we have a look at the lineups at about 4:30 here for the FA Cup final. Chelsea-Arsenal, if they don't come out before that. Newcastle, guys, I'm just kind of feeling for their fans, Kenny. And I'm hearing the sad trombone, because it's just the same old story with Newcastle, an unpopular owner. They haven't won the league since 1927, the FA Cup since 1955. All those close runs in the 90s, but legends of the game like Shearer, Kevin Keegan, Jackie Milburn, they were going to be bought for 300 million by the Saudis. de facto, effectively the Saudi state investment. It's fallen apart. With all the politics and the global interest in Premier League assets, it's the fans I feel sorry for, because if you go up to Newcastle, that's all they live for is up there is football.
Yeah, but I don't know. A little bit OTT for me, John. I know that. Yeah, like, I heard a few of the headlines: turmoil, people crying in the streets. Doomsday scenario. The Saudis have pulled out. Well, the club's still intact. The club's going to survive. It'll survive and it'll move on. So I don't buy into it so much. I was never quite convinced. The dynamic there, the relationship, like you said, John, the Saudi state, in all but name, buying into Newcastle United Football Club, just in terms of the fit, didn't quite sit with me, in all honesty. I think that Mike Ashley is going to move on at some stage. It might be a year's time, 2 or 3 years' time, but it will happen. I think Newcastle United supporters just have to be patient, but just try and enjoy it in the meantime. It's not the end of the world. They're in the Premiership. They'll be in the Premiership next year. It's a wonderful football club. They might have arguments about maybe the quality of football in terms of how easy on the eye it is, etc., etc. And we're the club that ideally want to be competing up at the top end. I'm sure there's many clubs who have that, who would love to be competing up the top end. But when you look at a few other clubs further down the football chain, the pyramid, John, and how they're struggling, potentially going out of business in the next couple of years. Now, some towns are going to lose their football clubs forever. I think just a little bit of perspective is required. Yeah, potentially it could have taken off there in terms of the investment coming in to the football club, but not necessarily for the better either. So I just urge a little bit of perspective on behalf of the Newcastle. It's still a wonderful football club. Nothing's going to change. Just concentrate on what you have at the moment. Get behind the football team. Get behind a manager at the moment. I don't quite buy into this kind of the Mike Ashley kind of, let's throw him under a bus scenario either. He's a businessman. He's not a multi-billionaire. He hasn't got an extraordinary amount of money to throw at it. I think he runs his businesses prudently. He gives his managers a reasonable amount of money to spend. I think he's quite upfront with them in terms of this is what you have to work with. These are the parameters in which you have to operate. I think I've no problem with that as a manager. As you know where you stand with him, you just got to get on with it. And as a manager, go in and do your job. Coach the players, manage the players, get the best out you can of the players which you have.
Any Newcastle fans, you can text in any questions or thoughts, 53106. Do you think it's a good thing for football, Shane, that the Saudis are not involved?
Yeah, look, for football or human rights, there's so many different ways that you can look at it, really. Look, it depends how is it a toy that they want to play with for 2 or 3 years and then they're going to disappear and leave the club really, really high and dry, or are they in it for the long term? You never know with any of these situations. I'll tell you what I will say, John, is, and Kenny is right, the style of play there might have been wonderful this year. But if you go back to the very start of the season and you look, these famous league table predictions or who you think's going to win it and who you think's going to get relegated, I'll tell you what, there's a hell of a lot of people tipping Newcastle to have a serious struggle this season and potentially get relegated, because there was so much going on around the club, and a lot of people saw Steve Bruce as a really poor appointment and they didn't think that he'd be of the required level, and he's done a good job. He's done a very, very good job. It mightn't be the sexiest of football, it mightn't be Kevin Keegan style football, but they've never been anywhere near being involved in that relegation scrap, really. And I suppose with all the Mike Ashley stuff, all the Saudi stuff, everything that's going on around it, I think it's kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. That, in fairness to him, he's done a good job this year there, so he has. But he has to be frustrated with kind of not knowing where he stands.
Well, you'd have to think that if the Saudis took over, put 300 million into buying the club, then put another whatever amount of money in, that like Steve Bruce might not be in charge. It might be Pochettino, it might be somebody else. If money is no object, we've seen with Manchester City over the last decade that money is no object, and that's one of the things. In the transfer market, Kenny, this week with Nathan Ake going to Manchester City, Ferran Torres as well. They're the kind of signings that would impress you?
Torres, I can understand. I've watched a bit of him play Spanish football. Very good player, type of player you'd imagine Guardiola likes, fits into his way of playing. Very technical player, kind of low centre gravity, generally operates kind of off the flank. So that would be an easy fit. The Nathan Ake one surprised me a little bit. I must be honest with you. I think they will be stronger for him coming into the football club, because I trust him more than the likes of Otamendi. in that central centre-half position. He's a solid player. He's got a good all-round game, Mac. He's not the most physically imposing. He's not kind of lightning quick, but he's comfortable on the ball. He's a decent reader of the game. He's kind of quite competitive. So I think they will be stronger, but he's not the kind of presence. He's not the maybe top shelf quality in terms of centre half, which I was expecting to come in alongside Laporte. When you look at the options, they could have gone out and got some really good centre halves operating around Europe at this moment in time. So it surprised me a little bit, Nathan Ake. Generally, he operates off the left-hand side as well, left of the two, which is where Laporte. So I'm guessing he'll have to shift over to the right-hand side. There's not an obvious balance there either. So I'm a little bit surprised, I must be honest with you. I think he's a solid player, Ake, but I think it's not a guarantee that he's going to come into that Manchester City team and be a real kind of pivotal player. I think he's a solid acquisition, but kind of no more than that for a £40 million outlay.
Well, Miguel Delaney from the London Independent joined Joe Malloy in the Football Show this week discussing to what extent the COVID-19 pandemic is likely to impact spending in the transfer market.
On the transfer window, so we've about 10 weeks. Like sometimes when we've spoken to you down the years, there's almost a trigger move of sorts amongst the elite clubs, which will suddenly be a lifting of the dam and money will start sloshing around. Is there an obvious one this summer? Like the sense is because of COVID, we're heading into a transfer window, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah. I don't think an obvious one where all the cards fall, because the market is somewhat dependent on almost a potluck of who makes a big move. Because if you look at it right now, basically, from agents I've spoken to who are obviously involved in a lot of negotiations and that, everyone is saying that, so in the Premier League, for example, the 20 clubs, they will look to do business, but it will mostly be loans or part exchanges. Right. Now, in saying that, there are about 3 clubs that can spend money, and who are Chelsea, obviously, because they had so much saved from the transfer ban and not spending in January, Manchester United and Manchester City. So basically, what it comes down to, I mean, I think it's going to be these very focused trickle-down effects. Where say for example, if Manchester United did go and spend 50 to 60 million on Jack Grealish, then suddenly Villa have that 50, 60 million to spend, and because the market is so depressed this summer, it means that 60 million is maybe worth more this summer than say 90 million last summer. So I think it's going to be dependent on those sort of moves, but there's a lot of uncertainty. I think the state of the market is contributing to that as well. Like the big deal that will happen is Jadon Sancho from Dortmund to United, and like from what I've heard about that, Dortmund see it. They want to sell this summer because they don't think they'll get as good a price again, be due to kind of Sancho's contract. In fact, I think the window or the market will be suppressed for some time after this. So I think this is going to be an optimum time to sell. But while that will be the big move, I think Dortmund are too prudent to put that straight into, like, basically to spend all that money. I mean, they've already got 2 signings, like Jude Bellingham, obviously, and there's the guy from Werder Bremen whose name now escapes me. But ultimately, Dortmund will use that money basically to reinforce their own infrastructure rather than putting it straight into the market.
If Miguel is right, Kenny Cunningham, is Jadon Sancho the guy who should be number 1 on Solskjaer's priority list, in your view?
No, he wouldn't be number 1 on my priority list if I was Solskjaer. No, I'd be looking for that top-class centre-half, a bit like the discussion we've been having about Chelsea and Arsenal. I still think Manchester United are short. I'm not suggesting they're weak. The central defensive partnership of Lindelof and Maguire is weak, but I think it has its limitations, and I'll be a lot more confident of Manchester United's chances going forward in terms of competing for a league title the next year or two. With an addition at centre-half, somebody more dynamic, like a powerful, athletic, quick, defensively minded centre-half, probably to play alongside Maguire. It looks as if Maguire's there for the long term. Now, I can understand why he was brought in to an extent in terms of his football and his ability to travel forward in possession, with something clearly Solskjaer values highly. But he's not the most athletic, as we've spoken about before, not the quickest on the turn in kind of 1v1 situation. So for me, ideally, they need to get some of the top-class centre-half to play alongside him. So Sancho I'd take. I'm not sure I'd spend 100 million to get him. I think there's a bit of bargaining to be done there, John. So Sancho certainly strengthens across that front line, means basically that it's done. And with the likes of Rashford, Martial, in particular, and of course Greenwood as well, excuse me, probably the best of the lot with Sancho as well. That's as that's as good as anything you're going to see, particularly with possibly Pogba and Fernandes behind that. So, no, centre-half for me, if I was going to spend that money, ideally, if I was a Manchester United manager. But if he does become available, Sancho, and it seems that's the case, he's had a couple of little fallings out, a couple of rumours, murmurings coming out at Dortmund in terms of his attitude, a few disciplinary issues, and it looks as if they're willing to do business. So it would seem as if, as long as they're prepared to give a little bit in terms of the transfer fee, and if a fee can be agreed somewhere maybe between 75, 80 million, that type of fee, Manchester United might jump and get him in the door, but it'll certainly be a good acquisition to the squad.
And Kenny, just before go on, Shane.
Is there a centre half out there that can be got though?
There is, yeah. No, there's some good centre halves out there. I mean, the best, obviously, the best for me is probably in terms of realistically who could get Shane. I mean, Koulibaly at Napoli's probably been the best 2 or 3 centre halves for about 3 years now. You've probably done your due diligence all over in terms of players, but what I was talking about, physically imposing, quick, good in 1v1 situations, kind of personality. He can actually play as well in possession. He's not embarrassed with the ball at his feet. And there's some very good players as well, that even around Italian football, Germany. If you look at Leipzig, actually, you would have seen John play against Tottenham this year in European competition. And the centre-halves they have, Upamecano, the young French boy, he's only 21, he's got a bit to go, but he's outstanding. I think he's a very good defender. Klosterman, the 2 Germans play either side of him. In Italy, I could go on and on. There's 5 or 6 players. Look at the Inter Milan back 3, De Vrij, Skriniar, and the young Italian Bastoni is an outstanding young player. So there's plenty of those players around the place, Shane, in Europe. If you look closely enough, they are actually out there. They're going to cost you a bit of money, but it's such a key area of the pitch, at centre-half. If you're talking about, league titles and Champions League, I mean, you have to get it right in certain areas of the pitch, and that central defensive partnership has to be absolutely rock solid, particularly in the modern game, Shane. As you send your fullbacks high up the pitch, your 2 centre-halves a little more exposed now on the counter-attack 1v1 situations. You just can't afford to have that bit of a, clumsy, lumpy centre-half operating in 1v1 situations. Got to be quick on the turn to be able to defend in 1v1 situations. So that's why I make the argument for Manchester United in that area of the pitch, and probably 1 or 2 other teams, Man City as well. But they are out there. Those players are kind of out there. You just got to spend the money to get them.
Liverpool, they're going to be quiet. Is that an issue, or are they geared now towards a defence of their title with a settled squad?
The problem they're going to have, again, I suppose, JD, we would have spoke about it before, with Pochettino, with Spurs. He reached a stage where he had a starting 11 that was starting every week, and it was very hard to see, right, how do you kick on here? How do you improve? I mean, you talk about bringing in players to strengthen your squad, but it's very hard to get a really top class player if he thinks that the position that he's coming in is nailed down by somebody else. And this is the challenge that Liverpool are going to have now over the next while. I mean, are there more talented midfielders out there? There probably are. Can they come in and fit into the system that Liverpool are playing at the moment? Maybe not. So what does he do there? Does he try and buy players who are a good fit for the system, or does he try and buy players who give him a little bit something else as a plan B? It's very, very hard to know. I mean, I suppose they haven't 100% nailed down Van Dijk's partner. Most of the players who've come in that position have done well, but they've done well because they're beside Van Dijk, really, to be honest with you. Some people would say Firmino is not prolific enough, but Firmino does a very, very specific role for Klopp, and Klopp has openly said in the media that he thinks Firmino is the best player in the world at doing the job that he wants him to do. So again, what do you do there? So it's a hard one to see how they go about strengthening, and yet at the same time you're saying, well, they can't stand still either.
Kenny, what's your opinion on Liverpool at the moment?
Well, if you're asking me where they need strengthening, and my answer is simple: nowhere. I mean, I agree to a large extent to what Shane has said. There's an argument for saying, I've heard a couple of... Phil Thompson was the last one I heard, and I can understand it. He said, when you're on the top, you have to strengthen, reinforce, even if it means getting 1 or 2 top-class players in. Don't stand still. But I think this is one of the few occasions when you can argue the opposite, because I just think the equilibrium, the balance of the team in terms of personality and the different qualities, football and qualities of the players, is absolutely perfect. And as long as Klopp is assured in terms of the mentality of the players, it's still the same, they're still focused, and there's a real hunger there amongst that group of players to drive forward and go for back-to-back titles, Champions League, and that hunger is still there. I don't see how he can improve on that. I mean, look, I could make an argument. Shane's touched on there's that central midfield area. I've said it before. If there's one player I think could enhance Liverpool, it would be Kai Havertz. I said it some time ago. If he's going to live Bayern Leverkusen this summer, I'd go and get him, even if I had to sacrifice Wijnaldum or Keita, because I think Havertz for me will get you more goals. It'll potentially get you 15 goals from that central midfield area. Will he work as hard? Has he got the kind of tenacity as those other players? Maybe the tactical understanding, acumen that you need in that Liverpool jersey in terms of our possession of football? I'm not too sure. But he's the one I'd argue potentially to come into the team. But when you spend that type of money on a player coming into Liverpool, that player expects to play. So people make the argument, John, and Shane will know, why don't they get a top-class centre-forward to come in to supplement the front three? No top-class centre-forward is going to sign for Liverpool and sit in the bench. It's as simple as that. So that's the dilemma Klopp has. I don't think he'll ever sign a top-class centre-forward or wide player for 75, 100 million unless one of those front three is going to go out the door. It's as simple as that. So I don't see where the big the improvement can come. I think that squad's actually going to get better by itself organically in terms of their confidence. They're playing together. They're bonded together and they understand each other's games so well. I think there'll actually be a small improvement, 2, 3, 5% naturally anyway in the team, even in terms of confidence levels, belief, without actually spending on players. I could argue with the periphery of the squad, John, in terms of the squad, one out, one in, around the place. But in terms of the fundamentals of that team, for me, no, don't touch it. Leave it as it. From the outside looking in, John, it looks absolutely perfect.
We got the teams, lads, for the cup final. Arsenal 3-4-3. Martinez, Holding, Louise and Tierney. Bellerin, Ceballos, Xhaka and Saka. Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. And for Chelsea, Caballero in goal. Hope he does better than he did at the World Cup. Rudiger, Zuma and Azpilicueta. Alonso, Kovacic, Jorginho and James. And Pulisic, Giroud and Mount. Anything we could take out of that?
Yeah, look, I suppose the big decision that we've kind of touched on already was, does he go with Giroud or Tammy? And look, current form would dictate Giroud, but I don't know. Again, I do think an awful lot of this game hinges on David Luiz, as a lot of games do, and I think he might enjoy that. I think he might enjoy a bit of an arm wrestle with Giroud and pinning up against him and becoming a physical battle. I think Tammy may be playing on the shoulder. I thought Frank might roll the dice there a little bit and put him in just in terms of the direct opponent that he would be coming up against. But look, it's great that they've got two such different centre forwards. You know, he won't persevere with Plan A for too long. Considering they've got such a good Plan B there.
Kenny, did you review?
Yeah, I'm just scribbling down. You said Rudiger and Zuma, did you? Azpilicueta and James, was that a back four, John? Is that four defenders you
what I have here, I have Rudiger, Zuma and Azpilicueta across the back. Alonso, Kovacic, Jorginho and James.
All right, gotcha. Oh, Alonso's playing as well now. So it looks as if James Alonso play as wing backs and Azpilicueta will play right side of a back three. So that's interesting. He'll try and at least match Arsenal up across the defensive line. I always get nervous when I see Jorginho's name in that holding midfield. My heart sinks a little bit. I'm not even a Chelsea supporter. For the reasons that I've said earlier, I just think that's an area where he can get at Chelsea. He gives no protection whatsoever to the defensive line. I'm sure Lampard will argue that's why he's in the team. He'll get on the ball. He'll get them playing up the pitch. He'll play through the thirds. He'll feed players a little bit higher up the pitch. Good range of passing, etc., etc. But I'm always nervous when Chelsea are out of possession. He's the one you're looking for to shore things up in that holding midfield area. So I think it's up for grabs. I like to look at that Arsenal team. It's the one I expected. Saka I spoke about. Good to see him playing that left wing back area. Slight reservations that midfield too, like I've saying, probably similar to Jorginho, his deficiencies. But it's nothing between them for me. It's all to play for.
They're short. Yeah. They're short a couple of big players there, John, really, when you think about it, because obviously Kante, now I see Kante is named on the bench all right, but look, there's no doubt. I mean, Kenny said it there. There's no doubt that team would be vastly superior if Kante was in there for Jorginho, I think, certainly. But I'll tell you again, the one of recent has been Willian. I mean, he's had a fantastic last couple of months, so he has. And if you told me kind of towards the start of the year that he'd be seen as a massive loss for them, I would have been surprised. But given his current form, he is a big loss for them there today. He really is.
Yeah, okay, got to take a break here. 53106, back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. As potent as Rashford and Fernandes. Post-lockdown. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
On the latest Tech Talk, Luco Fuelon has the beginner's guide to buying a drone. Waterford IT tells us about Ireland's first esports scholarship. And we'll learn about generative pre-trained transformer 3, the artificial intelligence you really should know about.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now, or tune in this evening at 5.
On Newstalk.
Forward. It's the one move we're all ready to take. And at the Audi Moving Forward sales event, we're ready to help you on that journey. All Audi dealerships are now open, with tailored solutions to suit your individual needs, like the Audi A6 Saloon, with PCP finance from only €499 per month. Now is the time to make an appointment. Now is the time to start moving forward. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, subject to lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Visit audi.ie/A6 2020 for further information.
The sky's the limit when you're with Three. Our business plans are now half price until 2021. And with Truly all-you-can-eat data, you can video call from everywhere for meetings anywhere. Plus, you'll get the amazing Samsung S20 for free. Visit 3.ie/business or go in-store to switch today and start saving now. 3. Make it count. Selected plans only. Standard monthly charge applies from 2021. Up to 24-month contract applies. All-you-can-eat data. ROI only. See 3.ie.
Introducing a new range of online mental health benefits from VHI. With our 24/7 mental health support line, whatever you are going through, stress, anxiety or other worries, we have qualified counsellors who are ready to talk. And to support you even further, we are offering a benefit towards the wellness app, Headspace. Search VHI Mental Health. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
We all want to stay safe and protect each other from coronavirus. We do this by cleaning our hands, social distancing and covering sneezes and coughs. We can also do this by wearing a face covering. Face coverings help prevent people who don't know they have the virus from spreading it to others. They should be worn anywhere it's difficult to stay 2 meters apart, like shops or public transport, or when visiting anyone who's more at risk. Wear a face covering. Stay safe. Protect each other. See hse.ie for more.
Capture, connect and celebrate again those most special moments with the ones you love most. Clontarf Castle, Dublin's iconic 12th century castle, is delighted to launch the Great Getaway Series Breaks. The Great Escape, perfect for couples, for 2 nights with your 3rd night of luxury free. To the Great Reunion, perfect for families to reconnect, for 3 nights with your 4th night of luxury free. Enjoy the beauty of the castle and surrounding area. Plan your stay today. Book direct at clontarfcastle.ie.
At Homebase, get half price on all kitchen units when you buy 5 or more. Now with 15% off all kitchen appliances until 18th of August. Exclusions at homebase.co.uk.
Weekly Super Savers from Lidl mean more for your family for less. This week, fresh Irish chicken breast fillets are down from €5.99 to just €5. Catch a great offer with our extra large cod fillets for only €4. And 1 kilo of peaches and 1 kilo of nectarines are both down from $2.99 to just 99 cents. Pretty sweet. Lidl, more for you.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Andrew, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on Newstalk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock in the company of Kenny Cunningham and Shane Keegan. Kenny, the former Republic of Ireland captain, and Shane, the opposition analyst with Dundalk. Our football coverage brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. And you can text us 53106. You can tweet us at Off The Ball. You can watch us as well. Streaming on Periscope for Twitter, at Off The Ball, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the new OTB Sports app. Off The Ball, I listened to Kenny all day. How did he never manage a team? He'd make a great manager. That's one of our texters. Does Kenny think Michail Antonio will be good signing for a top 6 side? Rarely a game goes by that he doesn't have an influence and he can play anywhere. That is from Sean in Longford. Kenny, are you there?
I am.
Michail Antonio, Sean in Longford.
Yeah. Which club in particular? I'll give you an answer.
Would you make a good signing for a top
Tottenham.
6 side? Tottenham. I don't know if Tottenham are a top 6 side anymore. Well, they are 6th, but are they even a top 6 side anymore, Kenny?
No, John, to be honest, I think if you're a top 6, the teams there at the moment, no.
Yeah.
For me, probably doesn't get into any of those teams. You can make an argument as a squad player, an impact player coming off the bench, possibly so. But no, I think he's done fantastically well since post kind of lockdown. He's been a very influential player for West Ham, but still playing out position for me. He's played at centre forward, been very effective there. But for me, he looks like somebody who doesn't quite understand the position, has been brought up in that position, just in terms of his understanding where he needs to be at certain times, the runs that he needs to make. I still don't think he's the greatest finishers either, to be honest, although of late his stats have been particularly good. I think he's had a great impact at West Ham, but no, does he go into any of those top 6 teams across the forward line? Not for me, no.
We got a result in from Scotland. Rangers have won in the Scottish Premiership. Of course, Celtic playing tomorrow. Just another one as well here on Jack Grealish, Kenny. Is he going to be priced out of a summer move? From Tom, a hopeful Villa fan.
Well, what I'm amazed about this, Jack Grealish, is that this was always coming, wasn't it, in terms of leaving Aston Villa? It was going to be this summer or the next, John, realistically, whether they stayed up or not. Now, he signed the contract, I think it was last year, with the football club, Jack Grealish, and he was an instrumental player then. He was their key player then. I don't know who his agent is, and I don't be working in those kind of circles, like speaking to people. Obviously, Shane will have more experience than me. But I can't believe his agent has allowed him to sign a new contract at Aston Villa, and he would have been in a strong position going in to sign that contract. And he hasn't put in a release clause into his contract to say, if anybody bids, whatever the figure is, 30, 40, 50, 60 million, anybody bids that money, Aston Villa are obligated to take it, and then it's the player's decision whether to go or not. I just can't believe it, because we're going to have this yo-yoing all over the summer in terms of fees, standoff, Aston Villa demanding this, that and the other. Eventually it might well get done. It may be a case the player may have to push for the move. He may have to kick and scream. It could get messy. And all of that could have been circumnavigated by his advisors simply putting a get-out clause, which is very common on the continent, not so much in English football. But why he hasn't inserted that would make things a lot simpler. So in answer to your question, I think he will go. I think he should go from a personal point of view. I think he needs to go and improve and develop. I think there's good clubs out there for him. He's just got to be careful to choose the right one. But he has all the qualities for me. Mentally a little bit, I think he's got to improve upon. A little bit kiddish, maybe a little bit immature. See a few of the papers this morning. But I think he has all the qualities there. And in a different type of environment, surrounded by top-class players with the right type of mentality, being pushed by the right kind of manager and coaching staff, I think he can get better and he can prove himself at a top club.
Shane, another text in here. Do we think Greenwood will break United's goals record set by Rooney?
Do I think who?
Mason Greenwood.
Look, he's John. He's a fantastic player. He really is a fantastic player. To be honest with you, I was scratching my head earlier in the season as to how he wasn't getting in the team more. Any kind of any substitute appearance he had, or any games where he did start, I thought he just looked such an exciting player. He's got such a bag of tricks. Like one of the biggest compliments I can pay him is, like, I had to go and look on his player profile on the internet to try and figure out was he left footed or right footed. He was going that chopping and changing direction that much that he just looked so comfortable off either foot. He's a hard working boy, so he is, and that's what allows them to play him in that wide role. In fairness, very similar to Rashford and that, but I don't think Rashford is probably quite as clinical as Greenwood is, but he is a good fella to track backwards as well. So he is, but I think he's a serious player. I really do. And can he beat Rooney's record? I mean, injury will be a big thing, but if he can avoid injuries, there's certainly no reason in the world to think that he can't. And as I say, at the moment, he's not even playing as a centre forward. I think that's where you will see him long term. But at the moment, he's still got defensive duties, which, as I say, I've been impressed with how he's been willing to muck in on them as well.
Full-time Aberdeen 0, Rangers 1 in the Scottish Premiership. Dundee United won, St Johnstone 1, Hibernian 2, Kilmarnock 1 and St Mirren 1, Livingston 0. Another one in here, Kenny, Liverpool only been linked with Thiago from Bayern at the moment. Do the lads think he can hack the tempo of the Premier League? Should we not just take Coutinho back from Liverpool, John?
Yeah, I can't see that Thiago. I don't know where that's come from. I just can't see the sense of it from a football. Where does he play in that Liverpool midfield three? He's more of a playmaker really at Bayern, operates in more kind of withdrawn deeper role, receiving the ball off the defensive players and working the ball off the pitch. I mean, he can play in that pivotal role for Liverpool, that number 6. I mean, Fabinho and Henderson dovetail in that position. I don't even see him playing one of those advanced number eight positions. Liverpool, Klopp likes those kind of physical, dynamic players. Wijnaldum, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita in those area of the pitches as well. Legs, box to box. Hunted down opposition players, forcing mistakes on transition and things like that. So it's a bit of a non-starter for me, the Thiago one. It makes no sense whatsoever. I've thrown in the Havertz for me is the one. There's one player from German football in that central midfield area who can improve it. Liverpool, he's probably the only one.
And I think, John, I think a lot of people maybe just don't fully realise the how specific the roles the players within that Liverpool system are playing. Like Fabinho one, to me, I think Fabinho is a completely kind of elite player at the moment, doing a different job than anybody else out there, because he's involved in the build-up play. He'll protect the back line. But I'll tell you what he's doing that I don't see anybody else doing is, and I've not come up against it in, say, when I've been managing teams. He runs from being the 6 straight up on top of the opposition 6. So he goes past Henderson, he goes past Wijnaldum, Keita, whichever two are in advance of them. He steams past the two of them and runs straight in on top of the opposition 6 when they don't have the ball, which is, as I say, something very, very, very different. And I mean, I'll tell you what, Thiago's not going to do that, that's for sure. But that's what Kenny is saying there. Is he Thiago a great player? Absolutely. Does he fit into the Liverpool system? I can't see how he does.
The return of Scottish football, Kenny, with Celtic going for 10 in a row. Rangers, Steven Gerrard, without a trophy in a couple of seasons. A big season for him. We'll look at Gerrard and Lampard with the English midfield for so long, and Lampard is obviously in a more advanced position. But we saw with Brendan Rodgers how much Scottish success can give you a platform to manage in the Premier League, although he did have that Liverpool run to win the title in 2014, which just fell short. How do you assess the Scottish situation at the moment at the top? Celtic going for 10 and Rangers looking to challenge them?
Well, I just hope they put up a challenge, Rangers, and they have been doing that, John. That's the important thing. I've been impressed with the job Gerrard's done since he's gone into Rangers. It's not as if he's had a huge amount of money to spend. He's been able to cherry pick players from all over the world. That hasn't been the case. There's been a bit of money. He's had a bit of money to spend, but he's had to go and get people on loan. He's had to forage around, look for players maybe a little bit out of sorts, for different reasons. But he looks as if he's pulled the dressing room together and the whole club together, which is important. He's fiercely competitive. We can clearly see that. And a little bit like Lampard, I'd suggest, in terms of when I hear him speak, he does impress me. Very intense, maybe a different type of character to Lampard. Maybe not as amiable, you know what I mean? Don't take to him as much, but I think he's he's a student of the game. I think from a tactical point of view, he puts a lot of thought into it. So, and I think the players look as if they enjoy being around them and working underneath them. So I think that augurs well for Rangers, but they still have a bit of work to do. But I think they're heading in the right direction, and it's important they do put up a challenge, because on one hand, it's been great to see Celtic, obviously, in terms of league titles, which they've won, but I think it means a bit more to players. I know it's only trophies. Trophies at the end of the day are all that matters, but to actually go toe-to-toe with a rival like Rangers for the course of the season, to come out on top just by a hair, you know what I mean? I mean, that feels so much better from a competitive point of view, from a professional point of view, to go put yourself up against a team of equal stature and you kind of stare them down over the course of the season, actually get the better of them. That's a huge amount of satisfaction in that. And Celtic haven't had that for the majority of those 10 league titles. They had a taste of it last year, and hopefully we'll see more of it this year.
Obviously, Shane, they got European football to look forward to. Celtic. They'll need to keep on to the likes of Alexander Edouard. They'll need to hold on to him. Hamilton tomorrow. But is there much to be enthused about as a Celtic fan?
Yeah, look, I think for, again, kind of similar to what Kenny said there, I think Celtic fans, even though they might deny it, I think Celtic fans want the excitement of a proper race and you know, something, you know, the euphoria of winning it on the last game of the season or something like that, as opposed to winning it with a couple of weeks to go. That's what Celtic fans probably want more so than anything. They might deny they want the strong Rangers, but I'm telling you, deep down they really, really do, because they're, you know, there's no feeling like the old battles that used to go on between them. In terms of Europe, look, it's going to be interesting to see how they go. We're kind of keeping an eye on it ourselves, even from a Dundalk point of view. Obviously, they come in at the same round of the Champions League qualifiers as we do. So they do. Technically, we could actually end up playing against them at some stage. So we could. But yeah, look, it's as much as they might deny it, it can't have been the most exciting way to win a title this year. And you'd hope there's a bit more excitement about it for the coming season.
I'm just going to go through the exact teams and substitutes for Arsenal and Chelsea here today in the Cup Final, 5:30 kick-off at Wembley. Martinez, Holding, Luiz, Tierney, Bellerin, Ceballos, Xhaka, Maitland-Niles, Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. That's the Arsenal 11 with subs. Papa Statopoulos, Torreira, Nelson, Willock, Eddie Nketiah, Kolasinac, Macy, Smith and Saka. And Chelsea, Caballero, Azpilicueta, Zuma, Rudiger, James, Jorginho, Kovacic, Alonso, Mount, Giroud and Pulisic. And subs Kepa on the bench for Chelsea. Christensen, Conte, Barkley, Abraham, Pedro, Hudson-Odoi, Tomori and Emerson. So Kepa on the bench, as you were saying there, Kenny. I think the writing seems to be on the wall for Kepa for the Chelsea 11 and possibly into the future. With yourself, Shane, with Dundalk, the fact that it's a truncated season with the League of Ireland, you only got Rovers again once. Is there a worry that they could get into the slipstream and get a bit away from you?
Yeah, there has to be. Definitely, you know, the shortened season means that any draw for either of the top two are looking so strong, I suppose, up until this stage that, yeah, anything a draw is almost a defeat at this stage. And as Dundalk, we're probably already looking at their Shamrock Rovers actually kicking off at 5 o'clock. So we're probably already looking at a hope and Finn Harps could possibly do us a favour. I'll tell you what I will say, John. I've been on a couple of times. I tend to end up doing the Sunday pay-per-view after a Mark Tighe exclusive. It's unbelievable the amount of times it's happened to me. So I've ended up having to slate the FAI over various different stuff that Mark has dug out over the last while. So it's good to have the shoe on the other foot at the moment. This streaming service that they kicked off this weekend has been absolutely excellent. It's been really, really good. They've decided to put 5 different time slots for the 5 League of Ireland Premier Division games. So you've got 2 now every Friday, 2 every Saturday and 1 on a Sunday. And you can buy this season pass for €55. Which effectively works out at less than €1 a game, because that gets you every single game, including FAI Cup, between now and the end of the season. And I suppose going into yesterday evening, I was just a little bit apprehensive is this too good to be true? What is the product actually going to be? Are we going to be looking at a dodgy stream with a poor picture with some local fella they've pulled out a pub at the last minute to do a commentary and that kind of stuff? It's been excellent. It's been absolutely excellent. I looking at social media last night, watching the first game and looking at the first half of the first game today, it's been a top class production. It really, really has. And I really would urge people to maybe invest in that and pick it up for £55. They're going to see a lot of decent football over the rest of the season.
Kenny, you can hook it up to your TV when you get the TV sorted.
No, well, I tried to hook up my phone last night. I got tied myself up in knots, to be honest with you. So I am going to do it for the reasons that Shane suggested, because I was speaking to a few people over there regarding this. And I share the sentiments. When I heard about the kind of how the games are being streamed, I thought, you know what? It feels like a good idea. I'm just hoping there's going to be a bit of an appetite, not just around Ireland, but also abroad, that kind of Irish diaspora abroad, Europe, America, whatever. I'd be pleasantly surprised that maybe a number of those people weren't touching base and looking to get a number of those games on stream, because it's a good product. There's some fine players, some outstanding young players within the league. Shane will know better than me, always has been the case. So I'm sure there'll be an appetite for it if people are exposed to it. seen as though Jordan kind of locked down people. They've been jumping on Eastern European football, Belarus football, and they've been kind of, anything they could get type thing. But I think the quality of football that we can produce, the players we have at the moment, even at the moment, like the Shamrock Rovers, apart from the Dog, obviously, how successful they've been, the quality of players they've had the last couple of years. But certainly Shamrock Rovers last year, in terms of the players they brought in, individual players, Jack Byrne, etc., some outstanding young players. So similar to Shane, I'm hoping if people are exposed to this, wherever they are, whether it be in Ireland or abroad, and get a bit of a taste for it, hopefully it might become a permanent fixture going forward and become a good revenue stream for clubs in the foreseeable future, and see them through these short-term testing period.
Yeah, there's no, obviously, gate receipts, but there's no GA at the moment. There's no rugby right now. This is a chance, Shane, for the League of Ireland. I'm delighted to hear what you're saying, because this is a chance for the League of Ireland to put players in the shop window, to get us identifying with them a bit more, because the thing for me is the marketing, and is knowing who Jack Byrne is, and knowing these kind of players that can inspire their local communities, not just somebody on a TV screen on a Friday night, getting more of a sense of who they are, their stories, where they're from. And that, I think, is what will then connect them, like a GA player would connect with the Dubs or whatever, or Kilkenny hurler with these League of Ireland players that could be playing across the water in a few years' time.
That's it, John, 100%. Yep. Look, they need to create narratives. I keep saying it. They need to create narratives around individual players. They need to create narratives around clubs and around certain games. And that's the way to get people excited about it. It really is. It's interesting you say Jack Byrne's name. It was really, really good to see. I think I saw it about a week or two ago. Jack Byrne was actually on a poster for recycling, something to do with some green initiative. And it's one of the first times I've ever seen a League of Ireland player on a poster like that, pushing an initiative like that. So that was absolutely fantastic to see. And look, there are some really, really good players, and not to be overly presumptuous either, but with Stephen taking over the role, Stephen was in the stand last night. He was just a couple of rows there in front of me in the role I was doing. There is a hell of a chance that a couple of these guys could start to see involvement with the international side. Jack obviously has already been there. I think Michael Duffy with ourselves at Dundalk has been within touching distance. Stephen has used a lot of League of Ireland players at under 21 level. So yeah, we could start, there could be fellas playing just up the road from you one weekend and pulling on an Irish international jersey the next weekend. The other interesting thing from this weekend so far, John, has been 3 surprise results. All three games so far. Big shock with Sligo beating Derry last night. That absolutely wouldn't have been expected. Sligo went into that game pointless and won it comfortably, won it 2-0. Obviously, we failed to do the business last night against Pats. And again, even that one today, Waterford, that would be seen as a surprise as well. Waterford beating Shell. So it's a really, really, just when you were starting to fear that Rovers and Dundalk could pull away and that, maybe Cork and Sligo looked maybe a bit worse than everybody else, it's starting to level itself out again. It looked like it could be really, really competitive.
Well, Shane, I hope it all goes well for you with Dundalk, with the opposition analysis throughout the rest of the League of Ireland season. I hope the season, like the Premier League, gets completed. And Kenny, I hope you get that TV fixed soon so you can watch Arsenal-Chelsea in the next half hour.
Don't bank on it.
All right, lads, thanks for today.
Cheers, JD.
Cheers, John.
The Republic of Ireland captain Kenny Cunningham and the opposition analyst for Dundalk, Shane Keegan, joining us on Off the Ball here this afternoon on Newstalk. Just want to congratulate our winner of our competition, Noreen Garvey. You knew that Mo Salah was Liverpool's top scorer in the Premier League this past season with 19 goals. You have won a brand new Liverpool jersey. The Nike Football 2020-2021 Liverpool FC home kit features a vibrant red, traditional white and teal colourway, taking inspiration from the traditional Liverpool crest and the Liver birds that overlook the city on the iconic Liver building. The new kit available to pre-order in-store and online. Now, don't forget, tomorrow on Off the Ball Sunday, Joe Malloy is in the chair as always from 1. Dan McDonnell and Kieran Cunningham will join us for the paper review. On what should be an Olympic weekend in Tokyo, Ellen Keane will chat to modern pentathlete Arthur Lanigan O'Keefe and Paralympic discus thrower Niamh McCarthy. We'll also have interviews with the former Footballer of the Year from Armagh, Steve McDonnell, acclaimed documentary maker Ross Whitaker, and more from the new Andy Lee series. Be sure to tune in then if you've missed our Saturday panel on the return of sport in America with Mike Carlson, Ryan Jones and Cian Fahey. You can find the podcast of that and our football chat with Kenny Cunningham and Shane Keegan on our brand new OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download it for iOS and Android. Enjoy the cup final if you're watching it at 5:30. Thanks for listening today and spending your time with us. Bye-bye.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he out of space.